let's go ahead and start recording this thing. I will be uploading this as well for whoever feels called to watch this back. This will be accessible on my YouTube channel. So we're doing this one for the people today. This is for the people because I think it's a very important training, and it's kind of funny. Some relatability to the mindset side of things as well. Obviously, different mindset training this evening in 2 hours, but this is an important principle and concept in trading that, to a certain extent involves mindset as well. And I want to start with the training first and then go into market outlook. Okay. So if you haven't already, grab a clean sheet of paper, grab your trading notebook, hold it up. If you have your camera on, we'd love to, if you don't have your camera on, we'd love to see you. Number one, don't be shy. Okay. Don't be shy. I won't spotlight anybody. You know what I mean? I'll be the only one spotlighted. But hold up your notebook if you've got it and you're ready to take notes on today's session because this is a training plus market outlook. I know I just, marketed it as like market outlook, but this is a really important training that I'm going to be sharing as well. And for those of you guys that made the decision to be here live, I think you're going to appreciate this training. And if you're watching this and making the decision to watch this back on the recording, shout out to you one time as well. I think you're going to really enjoy and appreciate this training. So if you're in a position to do so, throw your camera on, show me, give me that energy that you're paying attention so that I can give you guys that energy right back. Okay. So, the training that I want to talk about today, and this is something that I've felt called to speak on for quite some time. There's actually two things I've been called to speak on or felt called to speak on quite some time. And I'm finally making the decision to do both of them in the same week, and they're both going to be made public. This is the first one today, and then the second one's going to be on Wednesday as well as a pop-up training. So you'll be able to register for that on this call as well if you'd like. But today specifically is going to be revolving around what absolutely should be defined in your trading plan. I had a lot of people over the past few months that have connected with me both in person and remotely online, and they've asked me, how do I actually create a trading plan? And there was some lack of clarity there that I felt would be necessary for us to address in a group setting like this today. What you decide to do from this training makes zero difference to me, but it could make a world of a difference for you if you take to heart what I'll be sharing around what, not what you have to include in a trading plan, but what's beneficial to include in a trading plan to really give you that clarity when it comes to, uh, you know, your process as a trader. Trading is a process, and there are certain things that you can include in a trading plan that make it very easy and simple. And there's also, things that you could choose not to include, and you can still make it very simple and easy of a process. But I'll tell you this for sure: if you don't have one of these trading plans that are including these specific criteria that we're going to talk about today, you might find yourself lacking in the results that you're desiring as a trader. And I can say that with confidence because that was me for quite some time. I was like the guy that was like, nah, I'm a sniper in the markets, trading institutional concepts, smart money concepts, having no problem sniping entries. And, I'm good without a trading plan written down. That was the mindset that I was in. And, for some reason, I kept blowing trading accounts and I kept lacking consistency in my results. And so one day I was having a conversation with a mentor of mine, someone who's done extremely well in trading. This guy is worth millions and millions and millions of dollars, tens of millions. And he was like, Donnie, you're good, but there's still a few things that are missing in your process to make you great as a trader. And I was very teachable and coachable in that moment. And he shared with me raw and real that, dude, how can you expect to make a living doing this thing if you don't have a clear, concise, written down, physically written down trading plan? I said, well, I have like a rough idea of a trading plan that I follow. And he's like, okay, cool. Well, are you having rough results, consistent results. Like, what's the reality of your situation? And I was open and honest with him. And he said, okay, well, this is stemming from your lack of clarity in your trading process, which starts with an effective and clear, concise trading plan. And so he ran me through the same training that I'll give you guys today, that it's really simple, man. It's really not difficult whatsoever. And it's a very minor thing that if you take and apply it and exercise the process of creating this for yourself today, will, and I can say this with confidence, completely change your trading results, truly. It's not like buying a course, it's not like finding a, new signals chat, okay? It's not this, that, these shiny objects that you'll see, these trading gurus marketing online. It's literally just having a clear and concise trading plan that you've created for yourself based on a few important pieces of criteria. So if you guys are excited for me to dive into this training, I'm excited to deliver it. Drop some eights in the chat for infinity and beyond and for abundance, because I believe, and I know this with confidence, that every single person here is deserving of abundance, number one. And number two, has what it takes to truly see the results that you as an individual are desiring in the markets. I know for a fact that each and every single one of you can make it doing this. In fact, a lot of you are already succeeding and doing this at a very high level. However, I know that there's a lot of you, because this is just conversations I've had over the past, few months. I know there's a lot of you that could be taken to that next level with a little bit more clarity surrounding the trading plan conversation and trading plan side of things. So we're going to go into this. This should be about a 25-minute max training before we get into market outlook. We'll be here for about an hour and 10 more minutes. Okay. I had the meeting scheduled for an hour and a half. So that's the timeline that you can, expect to be here, is like an hour and 10 minutes or so. Okay. So put yourself in a position where you're able to sit back, relax. Maybe you got some popcorn, coffee if it's morning for you. You got your water, your wine if it's the evening for you, whatever the case may be. But get comfortable, get into a learning state. And I'm excited to walk you guys through this one. And I actually want to make this a bit more interactive and engaging. So what we're going to do, and I'm going to highlight specifically a few things as we're doing this together. But I'm going to go ahead and pull up my screen, and I want you guys to interact and engage with me in the chat and share what you personally believe are absolutely crucial to include in a trading plan. Absolutely crucial. There's a lot that you could include, but what is absolutely crucial to include in a trading plan? Let's start by dropping some in the chat. I'm going to write these down, and we'll go ahead and dive into this here. So keep them coming in the chat. All right, we're going to go through these. We're just going to make a list, and then we're going to basically categorize this more effectively, and I'll expand on some of these points as well. So I like this one. Shout out to Brad. I'm seeing it drop by a few others as well. Nathan, how much money, or we'll just say how much are you risking per trade? This could be a dollar amount or a percentage. Okay. And here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna clean this up because I'm gonna make this a cheat sheet. You guys know me, man. Just big cheat sheet guy. Right. And like I said, we're not gonna include absolutely everything that's being shared in the chat, but specifically we're gonna highlight and go through, and this is in no particular order, but these are the things that are absolutely crucial in a trading plan. So you need to decide with consistency and accuracy in what this number is, how much you're risking per trade. So this could be a dollar amount or a percentage amount. Here's why this is so important. You might take a trade where you lose $50 and then take another trade where you lose $10. The difference between those two trades, if you basically followed the same premise of entry, stop loss here, take profit here, and you didn't adjust your stop loss, but one of them was worth $10 loss, other one was $50 loss, you're not going to know with precision how long it's going to take for you to get back to break even or back into a profitable position. Whereas if you risk the same static amount, I would encourage a dollar amount. You can do percentage if you'd like. If you don't clarify that number, it's going to be challenging for you to know the score, and it's going to be challenging for you to progress in a way that makes sense. Okay. Risk to reward is something we talk about a lot on sessions, and for good reason, because it's good to and it's effective to have a positive risk to reward where you're risking a small amount to make a bigger amount. That way you can be losing more than you're winning and still be profitable. For example, if I decided to risk $10 every trade instead of $10 here, $50 here, $100 here, $20 here, okay, sporadic all over the place, I can risk $10 every single trade looking to make $30 every single trade. There's another part of the trading plan we'll come back to in a second. But I can choose to risk the same amount every single trade and with a positive risk to reward, know for a fact that if I'm taking 1 to 3 risk to reward ratio setups, bare minimum, I could lose that trade 3 times in a row, win it once, and be back at break even where I started. Win it twice, and now be back up in profit 3 times what I normally risk on every trade. 3R, $30 in this case. So risk parameter is absolutely important. Okay. Another point that I think is important to consider. I'm seeing this in the chat as well, and I like this a lot. Is and they kind of go hand in hand. Is what days and sessions are you trading? Here's why this is so important. If you haven't defined the days and sessions that you're going to be trading, you will be more likely to pull up your trading app and take a trade just for fun at a random time on a random day because you haven't defined with specificity and with clarity, these are the days, these are the sessions that I'm trading. So for me, and this is something that changes over time, okay? Like a trading plan is not like a etched in stone, it's the same forever. No, okay? A trading plan can change, it can evolve, it can grow, it can expand over time, it can change into something new as time's going on. But the point is you want to have some sort of structure to allow you to collect data and then make necessary changes according to that data that you've collected. So for me, as of right now, I will only trade currency pairs personally, like my own analysis, my own trades on my own personal account where I'm just taking my own trades, not including trade ideas, not including copy trade setups, not including tap to trade. Okay. For those who are part of the community, my own personal live account, which by the way, nugget of gold sidebar, have an account for trade ideas that are not your own. Have a separate live account for your own trades that are 100% your own and not influenced by anything else. Key point. But the days and times that I will trade and the sessions that I will trade, number one, I'm only trading New York session personally. All right. My trading window, this is to take it a step further. Okay. And you can decide whether you want to be this precise or not, but you can give yourself a trading window where you can literally, there's even something you can do in the settings app on your phone where you can basically limit apps and the accessibility at certain days, certain times. It's really quite cool. You can explore that in your own time. But my trading window is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, the first Friday of every month, which is NFP usually, or it's whatever day NFP is basically. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, New York session between 8 a.m. and 11 a.m. Eastern. That's when I'm on the charts. That's when I'm taking trades that are my own analysis. And the exception will be I will set limit orders. If the limit orders trigger outside that window, that's fine. But the days and times that I'm actively on the charts looking for opportunities and taking trades, setting orders, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, the first Friday of every month, New York session between 8 a.m. and 11 a.m. Don't write this down for your trading plan, man. Okay. Your trading plan should look different based on your availability. Okay. Like what? There's the thumb on Zoom. Shout out to Zoom and, reactions thing. Doing popping the thumb up. But what's your availability? What days make sense for you to trade? Right? This might need to revolve around your current schedule, your work schedule, your schedule as a student, your schedule as a parent, whatever. All right. But define for yourself the days and sessions that you're trading. And if you choose, you can go a step further and define it with a specific time window. If you think that will be too limiting for yourself, that's fine. You can stick with just days and sessions. But for me personally, it's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, New York session between 8 and 11 a.m. Eastern. The only exceptions that I have are for Bitcoin, which I will trade any time of the week, any day, anytime, because it moves differently, and I'll only trade it out of specific points of interest. So sometimes that point of interest will be traded into on a Sunday or a Monday, right? So have clarity for yourself with that being said. Continuing through the list. Oh, I got an interesting one for this point. So, Graham, this is a good one as well, but I'm going to share a perspective that I think you'll appreciate. I think everybody on the call will appreciate. Is how many trades you do per day. This is something that you want to be mindful of because this is something you can include if you feel called to. This will be from a kind of situational angle we'll share on this point. As a trader, you might have like a trigger finger. You know, it's like you're just shooting at everything. It's like you got the sniper rifle, it's like, when you're only shooting at the, you know, right times, very precise, slow, you're waiting for a while. You got the machine gun approach where it's like you're just spraying and praying, you know. I hope something hits TP. You know what I mean? Taking a bunch of trades in a day. So you might have that personality where it's like you just find yourself trading a lot. It might be good for you to define in your trading plan, hey, I'm going to take a max of X amount of trades in a day. Or if this is a setup that I'm looking for, if this is a setup that I'm looking for, that's a setup that I'm looking for, I'm only going to take X amount of setups per day. That could be effective for you to include in your trading plan. And I would say it's certainly effective if you find yourself over trading. However, you do want to set up the rules so that you always win. What I mean by that is you want to create a momentum cycle where you're feeling good, fired up, and confident with your trading plan and not finding yourself kind of just getting angry because it's like, I set this rule and I didn't follow it again. You want to get into that positive momentum cycle. It's a success principle. It's not my success principle. I'm just the messenger relaying it to you guys. But you want to set the rules so you always win. So if it's something that could serve you, great. If it's something that you find might limit you too much to the point of maybe not feeling good with your training plan, maybe include it, maybe don't include it. So it's interesting perspective I wanted to share on that. Account balance. I think this is yeah, Brian, this is a good point. You want to, obviously you want to start an account with a certain account size, right? And you want to usually you're going to set your risk parameters according to that account size, right? So you could include that in a trading plan. More specifically, though, what we're talking about here is these are almost like rules, right? In a trading plan, you essentially have rules. So a rule is, okay, I'm going to risk this amount per trade, right? These are the days I'm going to trade. So account balance, I wouldn't say that that's really going to be included in the trading plan per se, but it is an important point to consider when you're first starting out. Entry parameters. So I'll write this down. This is also really important. Actually, sidebar, I haven't seen it in the chat. Maybe it is in here. Um, okay, very, very, very important. Keep them dropping in the chat. Like what should absolutely be included in a trading plan? There's still room for a lot in here in the chat, so keep them coming. But another important one that I'm not seeing is what are you trading? What pairs are you going to trade and what pairs are you going to focus on? Okay. This is very important to consider and to clarify this for a couple of reasons. I was having a conversation with Jordan. Actually, we did a one-on-one call yesterday, and we talked about this. And I had this conversation a few times over the past couple months, hence why we're doing this training as a group right now. And it was in regards to a trading plan and how I use this analogy. It's like when you're in a relationship and you go on a date, your first date, you're getting to know the person. Second date, you're still getting to know the person. Third date, You're starting to know them, but you're still getting to know the person. Okay. And in you clarifying what pairs you're going to focus on trading, you're strengthening that relationship as you're focusing on those charts and those currency pairs or whatever they are, crypto pairs, gold, whatever it is, indices. You're building a relationship with what it is that you're focusing on. So, what I would encourage everybody to do is choose 3 to 5 pairs that you want to focus on. If, and this is something you can include in a trading plan, it's up to you, however you want to set this up. But this is what I would encourage you to do because this is how this is what's worked for me. Maybe it won't work for you, but it works for me. I'm confident it'll work for you too. But choose 3 to 5 pairs. And if and only if, after looking at those 3 to 5 currency pairs or 3 to 5 assets, you don't like what you're seeing and you're feeling there's a lack of opportunity based on your trading style, then you look at something else. But if you can focus on 3 to 5 pairs, I'm willing to bet almost, we'll say 7, 8 times out of 10, there's going to be opportunity just in those 3 to 5 pairs. And if you focus on those pairs, you'll build that relationship with those pairs. You'll get to know how they move. You get to know how they tend to trade at certain days, certain times, the trading sessions that you're focusing on them, so on and so forth. Okay. So you want to have clarity in what pairs you are going to trade. Key point. Don't be that guy that's like, oh, I'm looking at everything. I'm looking at everything, man. Good luck finding opportunity when you're trying to figure out what's happening here, there, and everywhere. And you end up not finding much of anything whatsoever because you're confusing yourself because you don't have a relationship or an understanding of any of what you're looking at. I can say that because that's how it was for me for my first little while. Okay, keep dropping in the chat. What should be absolutely included in a training plan? We have some good answers in the chat, but I need to see more. I mean, I could give it to you guys, but I want to make this interactive with y'all that are on here, the 40 plus of you that are on this call. So keep dropping in the chat. What is absolutely crucial to include in a trading plan? Okay. I see another one in the chat that is important. Is the entry and exit strategy. Entry and exit strategy. So we'll make these two separate points. We'll expand on them. Expand on them. So what's your entry criteria? Confirmation checklist. Okay. Even more importantly, your exit parameters or exit criteria, we'll call it. So let's expand on each of these. Entry criteria. So confirmation checklist. What is it that you're looking for prior to taking a trade? Maybe you have different entry models. So an entry model, for those of you guys that are maybe new that are unaware with regards to that and what that means, it's you're looking for something specific to develop in the market. You see it and then you trade it. Maybe you have two different entry models. So one is looking for specific things. Another entry model is maybe looking for slightly different things or completely different things. Okay. But generally speaking, what is it specifically that you are looking for prior to executing a trade? This is what is defining your edge. Your edge is what is going to determine whether you're profitable or not. Actually, even more importantly, is your ability to exercise and execute that edge based on the confirmation checklist that you've set for yourself. So to demonstrate as an example, I have a checklist. This is an old checklist. I will pull it up that I used to refer to as my old one. It's basically the same thing now, too. We just call it the A plus entry model, slightly different. But this is essentially the checklist that I will look for. So I'm looking at market structure. What is the market doing overall? I'm looking at order blocks, also known as FU candles, institutional candles. I'm looking at fair value gaps, also known as imbalances, IPA. I'm looking at liquidity. I'm looking at fibs. I'm looking at price and time. Now, this is all like general in a list, but I'm looking for very specific things and they're defined in my trading plan. So these are the types of things you want to have in a checklist. It's like, if this, then I look at the next thing. If that, then I'm looking at the sequential thing. If all these things are aligning, the stars are aligned, boom, I'm taking the trade. You want to make it so much process oriented where it's like as little thinking as possible. Okay. You want to make it almost robotic. Like it's you think about this. Let me stop sharing my screen for a second. It's almost boring. It's like you're showing up to the charts the same days, the same times, to trade the same pairs, and you're looking for the same thing every day. It's kind of it's almost boring, right? But you want it to be so clear that you could almost give it as an instruction to somebody else who's never traded before. We'll pretend they have like the context of the basics, okay? But they could almost like take that and execute it for you. It's like, hey, Brad. We'll pretend Brad doesn't have trading experience. Hey, Brad, good to see you, man. Hey, listen, I'm taking a day off the charts. Here's my trading plan. Go and do it for me, okay? Perfect. That's how clear you want your trading plan to be. So having exit, and entry confirmations and criteria is going to be really important. Exit criteria, even more important than entry criteria, because I'll promise you guys, and you guys let me know in the chat, it's pretty easy to take a trade. You know, you're looking at a chart, you clicking buy and sell is no problem. No problem. Closing the trade, this is a different conversation. It's a freaking roller coaster of emotions, man. Oh, we're doing this. Ethereum's up here. Wow, it's crazy. Oh, it's back at break even. What is I should have closed it, man. Example from today. Maybe some of you felt that. I missed the trade entirely. Shout out to Nick Gomez one time. Phenomenal trade. I didn't participate. Some of you guys did and closed. Some of you might have and maybe didn't close. Got hit break even, whatever it is. But the exit criteria, you should be clarifying a couple things. Number one, when do you go break even if you even decide to go break even? Some traders, and I've actually had a number of instances before I started trading smart money concepts and institutional concepts where I actually did not ever move my stop loss to break even. It was either I'm riding it to take profit or I'm riding it to stop loss. No in betweens. So define if you are going to go break even, when. Is it based on a certain risk to reward ratio being achieved? Is it based on something more discretionary like market structure and what the current market's looking like? Okay, define that for yourself. Take profit. How are you defining where your take profit is? Again, same conversation. Is it risk to reward based or is it more technical, more discretionary, more, hey, we got, markets doing this, relatively equal highs. My TP is based on the equal highs. Perfect. All right, but define this for yourself. If you want to set up the rules so you always win, or you want to set up the rules so they're simple, straightforward, something that could be very effective is just being disciplined and it being the same static risk to reward every time for when you go break even and when you take profit or where you set your take profit. If you want to keep it super simple, might be something to consider. Okay. So continuing here and just seeing some more in the chat, max trades per day. Again, I kind of alluded to this. This is something that could serve you. It's something that could also maybe not serve you, right? Trading strategy that kind of goes hand in hand with entry and exit strategy or criteria, I should say. Let's see here. Another point too is when to take partials. I'm seeing this in the chat from Toby. Thanks for dropping that, Toby. It's break even and taking partials, right? Maybe you decide to go break even and not take partials. Maybe you decide to take partials and not go break even. Maybe, clarify that for yourself. And again, if you're on here and you're newer, or maybe you're on here and you're experienced and you want to just be super simple with this, okay? You can make it where it's like, maybe I'll go break even at a 1-to-1 risk to reward or a 1-to-2 risk to reward. And then I'm always going to take profit at a 1-to-3 fully. No partials, full take profit, closing the position entirely at a 1-to-3, right? Maybe you decide to keep it super simple like that. Or maybe you decide to be a little bit more creative, a little bit more, okay, if we get to a 1-to-2, I'm closing half my position. If we achieve full take profit at 1-to-3, I close the rest. Okay. You got to define this for yourself. Again, it's not like a cookie cutter, one size fits all conversation. Like this is something you really need to sit down for an hour. Maybe it's going to take less time. Maybe it's going to take more time, but figure this out and define this for yourself as a starting point. And then as time goes on with data, you can change it accordingly. Confluences, again, that kind of goes with entry criteria confirmation checklist. I like that though. What to do if you lose a trade? Yeah, I think this is good. Like how do you respond when you win a trade or lose a trade? How are you documenting? Maybe you're documenting, maybe you're not. Okay, but that's a good point as well. I'm not going to include it in this, but that's a good point as well. How many trades do you have open at a time? That one I think is again, it's going to be relevant to some people, maybe not for others, right? Easier said than done. Don't get overly emotional, right? If you start losing or you're on a losing streak, take a break. I think that's valid for sure. How you're journaling your trades is important as well. We'll include this. How like what is your process for documentation? What I mean by that is, are you just looking at your MetaTrader 4 and 5 history, like your trading history, and that's what you're going off of? Or are you like actually, like I had a mentor of mine. I didn't do this for a very long time, but I did do this for a period of time. And he had mentioned that, and he was showing me, he has like a binder. Every trade that he took, he would physically print out the before and after screenshots and the during screenshots. And he had a whole binder full of his trades. Winning trades, losing trades, didn't matter, break even trades, every single one. This guy's a seriously professional and high level dude. He just bought a new Corvette recently, like super successful guy. Trades full time. You know, that's all he does. It's all he does is trade. And I did that for a period of time and it brought a lot of clarity. Reason I didn't do it is because I didn't have a printer, that was really ideal. I had to like pay per page I was printing. So I started to just do screenshots, before and after screenshots. But figure out what your process is going to be for documentation. I have a whole spreadsheet called Trading Made Simple tracker for documentation purposes. It's really good. It's really effective. And maybe I'll share that at some point on this call. There's actually a couple of changes I want to make to it, but yeah, rules around news trading. I think that's significant too, for sure. I wouldn't include that as like a, point for the list, but also something to consider for sure. Awesome. Okay. Did you ever finish your journal spreadsheet? I did finish it. I do have it. There were a couple things that somebody was reaching out to me about not being fully functional. So I can share it with you guys right now as it currently stands in its current state. This is what it looks like. This is like the first page. Follow the instructions on the first page. You got the trading constitution. These are just affirmations, trade history. All right. You can, source or educator if it was a person or if it was an educator or whatever. Weekly trading results. All this is done for you. Autofills, risk to reward, the equity curve, all this stuff is pretty much done for you. So I'll share this in the chat. This is a great tool, a great resource. And yeah, you guys can make a copy of this. All right, you can make a copy of this. And this is good for manual, documentation. There's no section for you to take screenshots and categorize the screenshots for like before and afters, but it is something that can be very, very beneficial. You can make a Google Doc or a Google Drive folder where, you have your trades. Okay. That could be something that's very beneficial for you. All right. So the spreadsheets in the chat, there's actually like a whole video on my YouTube channel that goes into how to actually, understand the spreadsheet and the tracker. I'll see if I can find it here for you guys real quick. Let's actually do this. Um, where is it at? Is it unlisted? No way. All right, hold on. I have it in Telegram. Who's getting some value so far tonight? Hopefully, you guys are enjoying this training as much as I'm enjoying giving this training. This link should be the one that goes into it. It is unlisted. Weird. Interesting. It should be made public, man. I don't know why this is unlisted. We'll make it public right now. Bizarre. I don't remember this being unlisted whatsoever. So that's the YouTube link in the chat. Absolutely master the basics for sure. For sure. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. All right. So these are the things that you're going to want to consider including in a trading plan. I mean, it's it's basic stuff, but it's like here's the thing. Are you actually following a process that looks like this, where this is all defined? I was in a room of a couple hundred people, and I asked this question from you know, yeah, I asked this question, and the actually wasn't even me that asked the question. Actually, no, I've done this as well, so I can't remember who it was. But I've surveyed a room before of traders, and I've said, hey, how many of you put your hand up have a trading plan? Everybody puts their hand up, right? I say, okay, keep your hands up. And it's, put your hand down if you've, or sorry, keep your hand up if you've actually written it down and actively are documenting the process of you exercising that trading plan. And you could actually come up on stage and relay with specificity every key component of your trading plan to the entire room. About 80% of the hands went down. So having a trading plan versus knowing, like actually knowing your trading plan and being able to articulate it to another individual effectively, it's a different conversation, man. Maybe that's something to consider. And then there's another thing when it comes to having a trading plan and following a trading plan, totally different conversation. So these are some things to consider. Um, Again, you want to make this almost robotic. It's like, all right, I'm trading the same days, the same times, the same pairs, looking for the same setup, looking for the same extra criteria, risking the same amount per trade. And this is my process for documentation. So this is a good framework to consider that I truly can say with confidence that when I started to actually exercise this at a professional level, like identifying all these things, following this to a T, my trading results increased and improved drastically. Like we're talking, I went from being profitable somewhat to being consistently profitable at a level that allowed me to really do this thing full time, and it didn't take long. It's just, define this, follow this, document this. That's all it is. And then you can make those changes, necessary changes as you're going, right? And you can document it in that trading journal, right? What are your five pairs you'd recommend for to beginners? So I can show you the ones that I focus on. These are the main ones that I'll focus on are the ones with red flags on the right hand side of my screen. So you have Euro USD, GBP USD, USD CAD. Honestly, I haven't really focused on a whole lot recently because it's kind of, whatever. But these three currency pairs, and then I'll focus on gold and Bitcoin as well. A lot of people are like, "Oh, I'm a beginner. I don't trade gold or Bitcoin. It scares me." Okay, I get it. It moves heavier, but I mean, wouldn't you want to master gold or Bitcoin sooner if you had the opportunity to? You can start on a demo. You don't have to trade it live. And as long as you're trading with proper risk management, who cares? You know what I mean? As long as you're disciplined with that. There's another video on my YouTube channel. I actually have a lot of good videos on my YouTube channel. Would encourage you guys to explore. There's a good news trading video on there. There's one video specifically that I think is really good when it comes to understanding R, which is this one right here. How to become a profitable trader, even if you're losing more trades than you're winning. Really good stuff, really good training. And so I encourage you guys to check that one out. I'll drop a link to this in the chat too. But just explore, right? Some of these are more appealing to some of you than maybe others, and then maybe there's some other recordings in here that are more appealing to you than other people on the call, right? So there's really good stuff. These three lessons are really solid too. Back to the institutional basics, episode 1, 2, and then 3. Really good, really good trainings and recordings to check out, and got some great feedback from a lot of people. on those. So, anyways, let's dive into market outlook. Who got some good value from the trading plan uh, portion of today's call so far? We'll be on here for another 40 minutes. We'll do a quick market outlook session. I think I might have been a little bit over time with the trading plan, but we went thorough and in detail. And it's great. If if you enjoy the training, fantastic, but don't just absorb it here live. Actually do something with it. Do something with it. This is being recorded and this will be uploaded on my YouTube channel as well, this one. So do something with it, man. Leave this call and actually create it or go back to your trading plan. Like when was the last, if you've created a trading plan, when was the last time you looked at it and made changes to it? If the answer wasn't this past Friday after the trading week, then dude, like you have like a trading plan that is probably outdated. Like you should actively be looking at your trading plan and making slight, very minor adjustments on almost a week to week basis. For sure, a month to month basis, because you'll have enough data to see, okay, last month, based on market conditions, which are always changing, I had trades that ran for 1 to 2.5 risk reward, but not 1 to 3, and I didn't take partials, and they kept hitting me break even. Maybe next month, based on the market conditions being the way that they were, and they're still that way going into the next month, maybe you make a slight adjustment. I'm going to take partials. Or maybe you just close fully at a 1 to 2.5 instead of a 1 to 3, right? So again, data is everything in trading. So focus on adjusting and adapting with that data that you have. Otherwise, if you don't have data, of course, how can you expect to make any sort of change or see any sort of different results? So let's get into market outlook. What we always do, guys, on these calls, if you're here, maybe you're here for the first time, which is great. Good to have you here. Sunday nights we'll usually, do a bit of a training. This was a more in-depth training today. Sometimes we'll just do market outlook, cut right to the chase, but we'll look at usually this entire list, not this entire list, but like the main ones that I focus on. So DXY for an overall outlook on USD pairs, we'll look at my five mains, and then sometimes we'll open it up for, suggestions. So if you guys have things you want to take a look at, keep that in mind as we progress through the call. Maybe we'll have an opportunity to. But last week, fairly volatile week. I mean, this week we've got a pretty wild lineup for news as well. Also going into the Easter weekend, it's going to be interesting to see how the end of the week closes. But on Monday, nothing really that I'm excited about or looking forward to. We do have some red folder news for Canadian dollar on Tuesday morning New York session. Wednesday is the day that we'll probably see quite a bit of volatility. Same with Thursday, right? We have interest rates for Canadian dollar as well as the core retail sales. This is always coming out like the week after CPI and for USD as well, or specifically for USD. And we also have your buddy Powell, who's speaking at 1:30 p.m. Eastern. So see how that goes. Wednesday is going to be a volatile day. We're going to have opportunity every day this week. I'm pretty confident. But this will be something to look out for and potentially trade in terms of high impact news. And then unemployment claims on Thursday. We'll be trading this live. We'll see how that goes. But more specifically, the interest rate cut anticipation for euro should bring quite a bit of volatility. So we'll see how that goes in terms of news. So just to consider that, we'll obviously look at that again as the week progresses. But for DXY, we talked about this last week. There was a key area. This is kind of the premise to look at DXY with. If you're new, you can take a screenshot of this, but typically you will see a correlation and a relationship between US dollar pairs and the dollar index, which is DXY. Okay. We had a area that at one point was looking very favorable for an accumulation schematic here on DXY over the course of practically the entire year of 2023 and going into 2024, we finally broke out. And there were relatively equal lows here that were left behind that we've now, as of last week, seen officially captured. So, which is nice, actually. We're actually getting some higher time frame liquidity captures, which is neat and interesting. And we traded into this point of interest back in this was like beginning of the year and rejected from these points of interest to trade lower with authority. I mean, we traded lower quite aggressively here, and you know, it's interesting to see how prices played out. I don't know if we traded into, yeah, we did trade in. This is a smaller time from order block, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, so obviously with where DXY is currently at, we just took out higher time frame liquidity. I wouldn't be surprised if we get some sort of bullishness this week after having captured weekly lows. The next area of liquidity that's really on the table is down here. Do I think we're going to take it out? Yeah, I think based on price action, we'll probably continue lower for sure. But I would be anticipating bullishness for the start of the week to get a bit of a retracement of what last week's volatility gave us in terms of a sell-off. I mean, it was literally a almost 4% sell-off on DXY last week. So daily time frame perspective, taking a look at the development that we have here, there's a pretty significant fair value gap that's been created that I think we can return into, that I think is reasonable for us to return into before we continue selling off. We could just continue selling off for sure, but I would be anticipating a retracement into this zone and then a continuation lower perhaps on DXY. I mean, we could get, this, right? I mean, we could get a V-shaped recovery almost as a retracement. So yeah, let's be mindful of that. But I like this point of interest on the daily. We don't need to necessarily look at it on the smaller time frames. But daily time frame is looking appealing for price to, retrace and potentially reject to continue lower. Um, Again, it's not that we can't go beyond that point of interest, but that's just where we're currently at. And then yeah, we looked at this last week. This was the anticipation on, hold on, was this last week? Maybe it was the week before, actually. But we talked about this gap being returned into. We saw price return into that and then reject really nicely and basically fell off a cliff. The following week, yeah, that was the week before. The first week of April, price returns into it. Following week, we dump. That's what we just saw last week. So yeah, that same daily fair value gap we're seeing right here on the 4 hour. So this is really where I would be anticipating price to return to. And if we look on the hourly time frame, these are the swing highs that we're taking on the way back up into that area. Again, you always want to see, if you're taking notes, feel free to write this down. You want to see price move from one area of liquidity to the next. So if we just took a bunch of higher time frame liquidity as well as this hourly time frame low from Thursday on Friday, we just saw that low taken out. We're starting to see, maybe some evidence of bullishness. We could still jab this low as well before going higher. But typically, you're going to want to look for price to hunt liquidity on one side of the market and then go and hunt the other side of liquidity almost immediately afterwards. Okay. So these are the relevant areas of liquidity that we have on DXY at the moment. And this is on the way up to that same fair value gap, that same imbalance that's been left behind. Right. So just food for thought. Obviously, maybe we get up into that, maybe we don't this week, but this is essentially what I would be looking for. And I think it would be favorable for us to take sells on something like Euro USD, AUD USD, JBP, GBP USD. Assuming we were to see DXY go higher, we're usually going to see those trade lower. Gold as well, right? Exactly. And so, yeah, this is kind of what I would be anticipating. Something like this is kind of what I would be seeing as favorable for this week. We'll see what happens ultimately, but that's the current outlook that I have for now on DXY. Right, took a lot of very relevant liquidity on the higher time frames, so I think it's reasonable for us to get a pullback into this zone. Right, ultimately into this zone. So yeah, let's see what happens. I'm going to see if we can clear this up, some of these zones. But that's kind of what I'll be looking for on the daily time frame. Yeah, and I think it's not off the table for us to trade lower and sweep this low one more time, but I do feel that based on where we're currently trading, it's probably more likely for us to continue higher first. Okay, jumping over to Euro. With that being said, we saw very similar highs on Euro USD captured. Okay, we had these two relatively equal highs. Again, DXY and Euro USD follow each other the closest because the euro makes up the majority of DXY. For those of you guys that didn't know, it's like 60, 70%. So yeah, 50, almost 60% of the DXY is represented from euro. Euro USD is the most traded currency pair as well. But yeah, we just saw, relatively equal highs swept. We are a little bit closer to this high on euro, and we have two relative equal highs here in comparison to DXY. So we're getting a bit of a divergence in terms of how far away we are from the next area of liquidity on the weekly. So it's not off the table for, price to jab this and then, give a pullback on Euro USD. I don't think that's off the table. I do think we could go higher on euro to take this out. And just the same way as we're anticipating DXY to go lower, right? That would also mean euro is going to go higher. But I do see, potential pullback to start the week based on everything we saw. We had euro buys from last Tuesday that were nice. Honestly, should have held this a lot longer, right? Ultimately, but it is what it is. Daily time frame, that same kind of fair value gap is present on Euro USD. I would be anticipating, us to trade deeper than this though, back into this order block is really what has my attention on Euro USD. And we can see that obviously that's overlapping, a couple of candles that created fair value gaps that I would be, anticipating price to return into at some point. Again, whether that's to start the week or after we've swept, this previous week's high, whatever. This is kind of what I'm looking for. Um, and that's what I would be, setting an alert on as well. And on the hourly time frame, if we're taking a look at the liquidity we're capturing on the way down to that zone, this is kind of what we're working with. Right. So if we are trading to take out lows, we would take buys after liquidity is captured to then target highs. Right. So yeah, this is kind of what I'm seeing on Euro USD. I'm liking the looks of this. Obviously, we could refine this a little bit more on the hourly time frame, maybe entry off this little fair value gap in here. Stop loss beneath the low. It's fat stop loss, bro. It's crazy how volatile this thing's been. But targeting the highs, you're looking at like a 1 to 4, 1 to 5 almost, So perhaps we get this. This is something I would be looking for. And I'll probably set an alert at a couple of these lows just to be advised, when we're taking them out, and then take a look and see what we're dealing with in terms of entry opportunities, right? GU fairly similar, fairly similar. We did actually reject from this fair value gap, not quite in the order block, but this fair value gap that we had marked up last week. I think this was on Thursday session, perhaps. And we actually talked about the likelihood of us trading and ripping through this zone and trading into this higher zone and capturing the internal liquidity on the way up. But let's start with the higher time frames quick. This is a weekly time frame zone that we've currently so far rejected from, but that I do see us kind of trading through at some point going into the near future. Notice again, slight difference between GU and EU here, where Euro's taken out these highs. GU has failed to reach this high so far. So a little bit of divergence, but something to still anticipate. I do anticipate GU to continue higher to take out this high as well. Right. So this, we had like a buy to sell, but this sell was ultimately to capture liquidity, trade back into a fair value gap, and it's looking like we're going to continue blowing through this high. So I would be favoring buys for sure on GU. Same way I'm favoring buys on Euro. This would be the kind of ideal zone for potential entry opportunity. It's not the most ideal, I'll be honest. Like it's not like a super refined entry opportunity on GU. Got this fair value gap on the daily as well. But yeah, I feel like Euro is gonna be a little bit cleaner in terms of opportunity for buys this week, but we could still obviously take a look out for opportunities on GU. I think it's just yeah, it's been super trendy. You know what I mean? Just not as clean for entry opportunities in my opinion right now. But let's see how the week progresses. And my first area that I'm going to be setting an alert here is going to be at this high as well as the high from this weekly time frame fair value gap. So we'll see how price behaves inside the fair value gap as we return into it. But I would be more confident we're going to take last week's high than, you know, us taking both highs. We could see that this week. Let's see. But it's going to be interesting with specifically for euro with that refinancing rate on Thursday. So we shall see. But yeah, in terms of opportunities, I mean, maybe we get this. That would be cool to get a retracement into this order block on the 4 hour, which is a lot cleaner on the 4 hour. And likewise, you got that fair value gap. It's even an order block on the daily too, but not looking the cleanest. Euro's looking better. USD CAD starting to melt. And we were anticipating this last Tuesday. We actually traded higher on Tuesday before continuing lower. But weekly time frame perspective also just took a lot of liquidity on USD CAD. We just took out two major relatively equal highs right here. We traded above all of that. So the fact that we're getting a pretty aggressive sell-off right now to me is not surprising whatsoever. And where do we have relevant liquidity on the other side now that we just took highs? These lows. So I would be anticipating personally like a run on all of these over the next year. Obviously it's not going to happen all at once. It could, maybe with a black swan event, some crazy news, right? But let's see how this thing continues to develop. It's obviously a weekly time frame perspective. How did you know which fair value gap to go off of, or would you go off both? For Euro, I think this is from Euro. We were talking about this. These, or what was it? Yeah, these two 4 hour candles creating that fair value gap, two back to back. I would look at price action developing inside that area. So I zoned out both, right? Because it kind of came back to back here. This was from London session and then going into New York as well. I would just watch price action as we're trading inside that zone to see if we get an accumulation schematic. You know, that's what I would look to do. But ideally, if we were to not just observe price action, you're usually going to look at which one's at a better premium or a better discount, in this case, discount for buying. So, this one is here, kind of at the breaker block area. And then you have this one, which is at a more, deep retracement, better discount with the order block overlapping it. So ideally, we're trading in the lower half of this fair value gap, that lower one. Exactly. Yeah. And you can refine it on the smaller time frames. Exactly. Like if we take a look at this on the hourly, you'll notice that the zone kind of changes from this massive zone to, yeah, there's a little one in here, but mainly this, which is why I've got an alert there too, more specifically. But yeah, USD CAD also super trendy, kind of just melting at this point. I would be anticipating a retracement into the fair value gap that's been left behind here. So we'll see if and as to when price returns into that. And smaller time frame perspective, it's not really a whole lot that I'm looking at here other than this swing high, which is right before that fair value gap. Another thing that just adds confidence to the likelihood of us returning to that. But it looks like USD CAD is going to trade lower to start the week. We're just very close to these lows that are both relatively, not relatively equal, but they're same kind of zone. Daily time frame as well, pretty close to this low. So I would not be surprised if we trade against, or not trade against, but trade beneath this. But for now, not really a whole lot that I'm looking at and liking on USD CAD. It's kind of been like like this for a few weeks. Actually, more than a few weeks, to be honest. I think the last time we took a trade on USD CAD was back here in March. Should have held that one, man. This thing's 1 to 12. It's a long swing trade though. from like it's like 30 days. That's actually not that bad. Month. All right, Goldilocks, probably the one that I'm most excited to talk about. We had beautiful buys last week that also should have been held from Wednesday, a Tuesday, Wednesday kind of accumulation. Price just, flew. I mean, absolutely flew. We're probably going to see, based on how gold is continuing to trend, maybe we'll start to exhaust at some point over the next, 30 to 60 days. But we've been so impulsive on gold, it's actually crazy. To be honest, how impulsive we've been. And yeah, I'm just going to delete all these markups. But if we're taking a look at the current trading range on gold, this is what we're currently dealing with. I would certainly be looking to see gold return to this fair value gap. Yes, we have this one as well. I would not be surprised if we get a shallow retracement and a reaction off that before trading deeper. This is fast bullish price action. To get a shallow retracement and then continue would honestly be viable at this stage. Kind of like what we saw back here. Daily time frame fair value gap. We return, continue, and then trade deeper into this one. That's kind of the same scenario I would be looking for here. Something along those lines. So yeah, let's see. But either way, I'm going to be setting an alert at like 31.75 and 30.75 as well for both those daily time frame points of interest. You will see gold react off of daily time frame fair value gaps like crazy. Like it's so consistent. You can refine this on the 4 hour. You know what I mean? This is pretty clean point of interest. So yeah, I would be curious to see what we get on gold here, and lots of liquidity on the way down too. Each of these swing lows, relatively equal lows here. You got this swing low here. So for us to get a retracement, even Monday, Tuesday, like I would expect this early week, early beginning of the week. Maybe we trade lower to this one. That'd be great. But it's looking good for gold to yeah, to get that sell off. Gold's outperformed Bitcoin by 40% the past year. Wow. Wow. We're going to see that shift. I think what's going to happen is we're going to see gold start to melt, and then we'll see Bitcoin start to continue pumping. It's going to be like a transfer, you know? Be interesting to see. But yeah, so that's kind of what we're dealing with on golds. Points of interest, like key points of interest. Like we had clean accumulation here. There was a fractal accumulation here. You know what I mean? I'd be interested to see if we can return to this and these zones. But right now there's not like a whole lot that I'd be looking for potential buys off of other than those higher time frame fair value gaps, which we've refined a little bit on the smaller time frames. So again, just going to be kind of alert city and then watching price when we trade into those alerts. But looking for another bullish week on gold. I wouldn't be surprised if we sweep this high first before getting a pullback as well. You know, like maybe we sweep these lows, trade higher, and then get a move lower. Or we already swept these lows and maybe we trade higher. This was from market open, it looks like. Dumped, capturing lows. I wouldn't be surprised if we take the highs first. Something like that. It's kind of what I would be anticipating on gold. Okay, Bitcoin looking very bullish, very favorable for us to continue higher. We obviously had this point of interest on Bitcoin. We've had this point of interest for a while. We teased this fair value gap on the daily. We did fill on the weekly time frame a very relevant area, and I want to point this out to you guys because we don't need to see that daily time frame fair value gap traded into based on what we just saw on the weekly. So this zone, clean this up a little bit more. So this zone right here which we did identify on the smaller time frame, refined it a little bit on the daily. But this weekly time frame fair value gap, we've officially traded and swept lows three times now. So we had like first drive, second drive, third drive, which is typical for an accumulation schematic. This being the spring, this is looking like we're ready to go. I think if we get above these highs, that'll be huge. That will be absolutely huge. That'll kind of confirm the accumulation, and I would say we're pretty much ready for takeoff going into the summer months. So looking very good on Bitcoin, very, very good on Bitcoin. Daily time frame, obviously, we didn't get down into the 72K level. Um, but we've this is looking very good for accumulation, ladies and gentlemen. This is looking super good. Practically a V-shaped recovery, healthy price action, kind of walking Bitcoin up last week. We took buys. Well, I took buys personally on this return into the fair value gap. This was on Thursday. And then there was also really good buying opportunity in here on the hourly time frame. So numerous buying opportunities from last week. And I would be anticipating the continuation higher. I also want to point out, because I know you guys were talking about the moon phases. Some of you were talking about it in the Zoom chat. Use it as an additional confirmation. Like you don't want to base absolute bottoms always coming out on like the full moon. Sure, that's how it's been in some instances, like this, Monday back here, beginning of January, like the bottom was literally established on the full moon, right? This bottom was practically established on the full moon. This one, it's more of like a practical, like rough expectation to have. Like we're about to see this thing run bullishly after the full moon, which is typical, right? But don't always use it to like time bottoms. You want to use it as like a framework, but you don't want to, kind of be like married to, oh, like the bottom needs to come on the full moon, right? Just, something to consider. I saw a few guys talking about that in the trade room. Yeah, 88K highs are definitely an important signal for sure. So you're always referring to the higher overall time frame to get your bias, even if there's something noticeable in the smaller. Yeah, like I mean, the way I look at it is the higher time frame is always going to trump the smaller time frame, but typically the smaller time frame is going to be in alignment with the higher time frame as well. It's all fractal. How do you differentiate things like bigger time frame order blocks and fair value gaps? I mean, if I see something on the daily and I see it on the 4 hour and the 1 hour, I might look to refine it, to like the 4 hour, let's say. Because it's like the time frame that's in between daily, 4 hour, 1 hour, right? If I see something on like daily 4 hour, 1 hour, and 15 minute, the more refined you get, the more likely you're going to be missing the actual entry because you're going to try and get too fine-tuned, like too precise with it, you know? So, like prime example, this fair value gap, we see it on the monthly time frame, the weekly time frame, and the daily time frame. But because we were focused so much on the daily, we actually missed the zone. But on both the weekly and the monthly, we've practically filled the entirety of that zone. It's also present on the 4 hour, I'm pretty sure, right down here. So it's like the more you refine it, the further on the smaller time frames that you go down to refine it, the more likely you're going to be to miss that entry. So there's like a healthy balance and relationship in refining it on the smaller time frames versus just taking it on whatever time frame you see the whatever higher time frame you see the zone from. So yeah, in terms of like differentiating, like I'll look to set alerts on the areas regardless of what time frame I'm looking at, and I'll just watch smaller time frame price action in those areas. Hopefully that makes sense. It's easy to over fine tune for sure. So what point do you see gold buying or selling? These are the zones I would want to look for buys on gold. Like 31.50 to 31.75-ish. And then this lower area, like 30.50 to 30.75 is kind of where I would look for price to start to slow down and give buying opportunities. We could just fly from where we're at on gold, but ideally we get a retracement into those zones. So yeah, this week we'll probably see it this week. Sweep of these highs at 88K will be huge. I'm confident we're gonna get it like by Thursday. Um, Based on what we're currently seeing, this is very, very favorable bullish price action for crypto. I had someone message me, he's like, "Are we cooked for crypto?" when it was like on Monday. I was like, dude, you've been messaging me for like 3 months about XRP and everything. And I'm like, bro, my answer is gonna be the same every time. Like, just hold until you see $5 XRP. Hold until we get new all-time high on Bitcoin. It's happening. Like this is how the cycle goes, right? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong, but based on what we're seeing. All the evidence points towards what I've been anticipating since the very beginning of the bull run. The only thing that's changed is the timeline. Like we're taking a little bit longer to see what I was anticipating. But if anything, that's good. It's slow, it's progressive, it's healthy. You know what I mean? ETH, we saw a divergence here where ETH took the low, Bitcoin didn't take the low. I have buys on ETH from here that I'm holding, and I have buys on Bitcoin from the same zone here that I'm holding, and I'm holding these to all-time highs. So I already partialed. Like I'm done partialing. This will be something that I hold from ideally the low or practically the test of the spring to all-time highs. So, and I've been trying to hold buys to all-time highs since back here. Literally, I had buys here, I had buys here. Finally, have like favorable buys that I think will go to all-time high. Who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we go to 72K. Maybe we get to this freaking daily time frame fair value gap. But I would say, based on price action, all things are pointing very bullishly. Um, and so yeah, man, let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. I'm just a chill guy that trades and sees what happens later on. That was my Instagram live notes, yeah. Exposed on my Ethereum chart. But yeah, things are looking real good for BTC. Um Honestly, like I don't even want to see us like return to this order block. If we do, have an alert on it, maybe we'll look to stack an entry, but ideally we just see this thing absolutely fly. Um Price action is very healthy right now. I do think we could return to this daily time frame order block, which means that I could be, seeing price come back close to my entry for buys. But ideal scenario, Don's perfect world, we just freaking fly from here, man. And before Thursday, take out these 88K highs. Should be a very, very bullish week for Bitcoin. Could we come lower? Yeah, definitely. We had one liquidity sweep. We're trading higher. Could we get, a second beneath these lows and trade back into the daily time frame order block? Yeah, we could. That's very much possible. And if we do, I'd look for buys, right? But yeah, Bitcoin's looking very good for buys and for a new all-time high. Okay. Cool. Yeah, in terms of points of interest, things that I'm looking for in particular, there's not really like a whole lot. Like this is kind of what we're looking at in terms of trading range. And I mean, maybe, a pullback to this zone could be favorable for buys at like 82K. We could trade closer to my entry, which seeing price come back to like 80K is possible. But based on how we're trending right now, this is looking very good to just continue flying. So I'm going to set an alert at these lows because again, if we're just looking at like, okay, where's the money? This is what we have. Relatively equal lows here. We haven't seen a 50% retracement yet from this expansion. So like we could be sweeping highs right now to trade lower, take the lows, and then go. That's probably what I would be anticipating. Mondays are usually bearish. So we'll see. Um, we'll see what happens, but I do think what we're seeing right now in terms of price action could be a liquidity capture, or we're about to go and create a new high above this at 86. Either way, I'm happy, you know. So XRP, I think is probably the most beautiful liquidity sweep that we've seen to date. across all altcoins. We've had a beautiful return to this fair value gap on the daily and weekly. This is a full fair value gap fill now on the weekly. I really wish I had limits on this. Would have been good to set limits at like 160, 165. But just watched it happen, you know. Actually, I didn't even get to be on the charts when it happened. It happened so quickly. Practically a V-shaped recovery last Monday. And I even missed this too. Beautiful fair value gap fill. This was like nasty, nasty fair value gap return. So this is like weekly time frame fair value gap. We'll clear this on the smaller time frames. Create that initial rally. We retrace, capturing a lot of liquidity, returning back into the fair value gap, and absolutely blow up another 50% return on the fair value gap. And we're continuing to blow up. We just came back again into a fair value gap. So XRP is looking super good as well. I would be anticipating based on price action. What we need to see for XRP, similarly to Bitcoin, is we need to see a close above like 260. This is kind of the next area that would be significant for us to see candle closures through on the daily. I don't think we're going to get that this week. We could, but I think I'm more confident that we'll see Bitcoin's 88K highs taken, and then that'll lead to in the following weeks us seeing XRP continue higher. But this is a zone we talked about for a while on XRP. I think we called this back in, I can't remember what it was. It was always a zone that we had marked out, but yeah, let's see. And then Ethereum, I mean, obviously, I don't really have a huge holding in Ethereum. But you know, we captured a pretty major area of liquidity on ETH as well. You know, we had these relatively equal lows plus this level of liquidity that all got captured. So I'm pretty confident in the buys that I have on ETH and holding those to like, I mean, maybe we don't get back up above this. Maybe we do. I mean, that'd be great. You know, it's pretty solid if we got that. I would not be opposed. You know what I mean? That's what is that like 240,000 pips or something, or 24,000 pips. I think that's 240,000 pips. Maybe it's 24,000. Either way, it's a lot of pips. So yeah, let's see. Nick Gomez has been crushing it with the ETH trade ideas. I don't know if you guys have seen those on the platform, but he literally, I'll show you guys this in the Telegram chat real quick. And this is what he's posting on the GFU Connect app as well. But he literally just on ETH last week. This was ETH. Hold on, can you guys? One second. Let me do this. So this is on the 9th, actually. Let's look a little bit back a little bit further. The 8th, 7th. Yes, this was last week. XRP bearish. I think this one got hit break even. Whoops, that's the wrong way. Yeah, this one hit exit one and then hit break even. So that he had like one TP1, one break even on the week, depending on what your entry was for XRP. The bearish on ETH from this was what, the 8th, ended up crushing TP1. I'm pretty sure it hit all three exits. Yeah, this hit all three exits. So that was like a 1400 pip move. All targets achieved. Nick's the GOAT. Like if you guys aren't taking his trade ideas, like he's someone you definitely want to listen to and follow. Had another ETH sell, and he caught buys, I'm pretty sure. I don't know if he dropped them in this chat, but sell from here. These are the targets. And move stop loss break even there. This was exit one, exit two, exit three. Again, 1700 pip move. Then he called ETH buys from the same zone. That was earlier this weekend on the 10th, I believe. Or no, that was, yeah, the 10th. That wasn't today. That was the 10th. He called another banger from today. And then that one hit exit one plus exit three, another 1500 pip move. This is all the same week on just ETH. Same week. Like Nick does not freaking miss, ladies and gentlemen. I swear, this guy's a savage. This was today, literally earlier today. Boz on ETH, 1570. Look at the sniper entry. Like insane. Hit all three targets again, 1500 pips. Like, bro, he's a different, or sorry, no, this is all three targets. My bad. I went the wrong direction with the screenshot. Two targets, first two targets. We're on the way to 1700. We'll probably see all three targets hit by like Monday, Tuesday. So, anyways, I say all that to say if you're on the GFU platform and you're not paying attention to Nick's trade ideas on Ethereum, like, or just, Ethereum, XRP, Bitcoin, those are the three main ones that he trades. And you're on MetaTrader, like, you can trade crypto on MetaTrader if you're using, a broker that allows it. So, definitely take advantage of that. He's located in Miami. So, he's in Eastern Standard Time. But so yeah, 3 hour time difference for Nick, for you guys in BC. Anyway, so he's really good. I actually missed his trade idea from this morning. I saw it like 15 minutes late, and it was already playing out, so didn't end up taking that one personally. But yeah, he's a legend for sure. So guys, we're at the kind of halfway point through the 8 p.m. hour here. It's 8:30. I don't know why I was halfway point of the hour. That was a weird way of referring to it. It's 8:30 now, coming to the end of the session. But yeah, hopefully you guys got some value. And if you haven't already, like I said, there is a mindset call in 30 minutes. Go, take a break, go stretch your legs, washroom break, whatever the case is. And in 30 minutes, we're actually going to be back with a mindset training. I dropped the Zoom link for you to register in the chat. So take a moment, for yourself, take 30-minute break, and then come back. We're going to be doing a really, really solid mindset training. I'll be opening the call for a business partner of mine, Tommy. Maybe you've met him before, maybe you haven't, but he's definitely someone that I look up to a lot when it comes to personal development, when it comes to his work ethic, when it comes to the person that he is. And normally he's flown out to speak on the same topic he'll be speaking on in 30 minutes, and he's paid tens of thousands of dollars to speak on this, the same material at these in-person events with hundreds of people, sometimes thousands of people. So if it's too late for you, I totally understand. I know some of you guys are tapped in from all around the world. It will be recorded, but if you can be there live, it hits different live. You guys were on this training live, but it definitely hits different live. So looking forward to seeing you guys in about 30 minutes on that training. Hopefully you guys got some value, and then stay tuned. I'm not going to drop it right now in an effort to save time, but I will be doing a Wyckoff in-depth training on Wednesday. So it'll be posted on my Instagram. It'll be posted on my in the group chats that a lot of you are a part of inside the community. So it's going to be open to the public, so anybody can attend it. There'll be a maximum of 100 participants for my Zoom, which is 100 people max. So it will max out 100%. It will max out. So as soon as you see me post on my Instagram story about it, register, be early for that training because it's going to be a 2 hour in-depth training on Wyckoff. And I'm looking forward to that too. So, guys, with that being said, let's have a fantastic week. Much love. Hopefully, you guys got some good value tonight, and I'll catch you guys on the mindset call in 30 minutes and also on that Wyckoff training on Wednesday. So, much love. Peace out.